Okay, welcome everyone. Tonight on the Gauntlet, we are playing a game called A Long Night in the Mech Bay, which is a two-player, as you can see, game which was created in the SAD Mech Jam a couple of years ago, and which was in the bundle for racial justice and equality last year. It's by Morgan of Nested Games. So yeah, my name is Donna. My pronouns are he, him. And today I will be playing the mechanic, whose nickname is Wrench, whose real name is AJ Raspin, also he, him. He's brooding, critical, and maybe hulking, but not quite. So yeah, Brandon.
Hi, I'm Brandon. I've been with Gauntlet since the middle of last year, and I'm playing this game for the first time. Looking forward to it. My character is Aurora Saitel. She is an ace mech pilot, goes by the call sign Nova. She is slender, and she has a quick smile and a somewhat mercurial emotional state. It can go from one pole to another in a short period of
time. And yes, I should have recalled. What Wrench most desires is an end to this terrible war in victory or defeat.
And what Aurora most desires is redemption for her actions. At least feeling that they were worth it. That there was something gained or some forgiveness. She's not really sure.
Okay. So yeah, it might be worth reading out the introduction. In the shifting war that has spread to the entire Merseus System, the Roran Federation has formed to combat the tyrannical Iridian Empire. One of you is the Roran Federation's ace pilot, who barely escaped with their life in a recent incident. The other is the Federation's best mechanic, who's seen more than their fair share of action. Sadly, there's no time to rest. This mech needs to be ready for the fight tomorrow, and no one else is available to help. It's going to be a long night. So, as a pair, we have to decide a few more things. And for each of those three things, we each add a detail. So the first thing is to describe the mechanic and pilot's relationship. The four options are close companions, former foes, star-crossed soulmates, and previously partners. So what do you think, Brandon?
Star-crossed soulmates.
Star-crossed soulmates, okay. We'll pick that one off the list, I think. Difficult to object to that in any duet game. Okay. So, like, what does that mean? I might add something first. So we know that it's a Roaring Federation that had been created just for this war, right? Against this resistance against the Iridian Empire. So if we come from different parts of that federation, maybe parts that were previously at war themselves or with a deep rivalry.
Yes.
And I think maybe we ended up working together because of kind of losses or just battlefield exigency.
Yeah, I can imagine a scene where I am bringing a 80% damaged mech to your repair bay, and basically saying, I need your help. This is I've been, my unit was ambushed. I was cut off, and I'm cut off from my supply base. Yeah. And you can help put me back together and get back into the war, or I can junk this.
Okay, yeah, that's nice. Gives us a bit of but in terms of soulmates, right? I think whatever the difficulty in the past, something clicked right in that moment.
Something, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, I mean, despite cultural barriers and history between our groups, I think the feeling was I don't have any reason to like you, but I can't help it.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I don't think I have anything to add to that right now. So the second prompt in this section is, I guess, this fight that you've barely survived. The pilot and mech barely survived. The options are vicious battle, lethal duel, cruel betrayal, crushing defeat.
I think I described a crushing defeat.
So it's not recent or relationship. It's like this is kind of the first time, really. I think we probably need to have a longer relationship than that.
I think we want to have a longer relationship.
Yeah.
So does that just describe a recent event?
Yeah. So this is the one from yesterday, basically.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, in other words, what happened yesterday? Okay, well then it's not a crushing defeat. It's it's a vicious battle, and it's not over.
Okay, so it's like round 2 tomorrow. Yeah, if it's vicious, maybe the detail that we add is that we are kind of defending. This is our last line of defense, maybe.
I think so. They're throwing everything. The Iridian Empire is throwing everything they've got against this hard point. We're defending a natural hard point that behind it has a large indefensible.
Yeah.
Has a large indefensible area behind it. So we've got like we're in a something in a mountain pass or something like that, where then the tops of the mountains have vicious weather conditions that make it very difficult to drop ships straight over them. But if they can punch through this pass, then essentially, there's no defending against mobile warfare behind it.
Yeah.
And the what's left of our end of the resistance is going to live or die based upon whether we can hold back the onslaught. And they've basically committed all their reserves to trying to smash through, and they're taking terrible losses, but they are attriting us, and we have less than we can lose than they do.
Yeah. Okay. Nice. Yeah, and the last prompt here is soon the pilot must face the Iridian Empire and the options are foolhardy rescue, tearful duel, hopeless last stand, or beleaguered final battle.
How would you describe it?
I mean, somewhere between the hopeless last stand and beleaguered final battle. I think hopeless last stand maybe is better. Although
I think so too.
Yeah.
Where there's a tiny bit of hope.
Yeah.
But there's not a lot. Yeah, I mean that we have. Yeah, the odds are pretty awful in this last fight.
And I think maybe the reason that we think maybe it's our last stand is I guess we've said before, right? Once we get pushed back here, there's really nothing to defend. It's basically hold here or hope they accept the surrender. And I think maybe the detail is that they have been like pushing so many forces in to this battle so far, and just willing to take any kind of losses to push us back.
Yeah. Well, no, they right. Yeah, that's right. They're basically it's if they. Yeah, they're losing 2 for every 1 that we lose, but they have more than a 2-1 advantage.
Yeah.
And so as long as they're willing to commit everything to this, we're going to lose. And if we lose, then that's it. If this battle is lost, then there's nothing left except surrender.
Yeah, sounds bleak. Okay. So I guess we have the first of the 3 mini games. Let me read out the description. So first of all, there's a quick question for setup. The pilot asks the mechanic what the mech bay looks like, and the mechanic asks the pilot how the mech became badly damaged.
Tell me what the mech bay looks like.
So I think this is like we have this gigantic mountain pass with kind of squeeze slopes and kind of hard granite, and like towards the rear kind of third of this, there's a bunch of tunnels, and these are meant for something else, like maybe like flooding drainage or some kind of transportation. But we've set up shop here. It's not like a normal mech bay. There's none of the usual network of gantries to help with everything. Everything here is makeshift. And there's lights, really bright lights kind of plugged into the ceiling of this tunnel. And everything is kind of constantly shaking from bombardments and fighting outside. I don't think
so. Lots of exposed cables.
Lots of exposed cables, kind of dust constantly falling
right
down.
Light fixtures that have basically been stapled into the ceiling, and
yeah,
I get it.
Cool. So I ask you how the mech became badly damaged.
The mech was badly damaged by I'm considering that it was by essentially kamikaze craft. A swarm of one person, fighter craft with loaded with high explosive. I mean, some things that the automated the automated close-in defenses aren't very well suited to deal with. It got most of them. The close-up defenses went off and got most of them, and two of them struck home and did a tremendous amount of damage. yeah, I'd managed to kind of ensconce myself into a firing position that was very difficult for them to get at. And, you know, it took down, you know, 2 mechs, and then they decided that I was too much of that I was to get rid of this thorn in their side. And committed their suicide squad, essentially. And they almost took me out. One of them hit the rock face right next to the mech, fortunately, and that absorbed a lot of the impact. And the other one blew away a lot of the, you know, fortunately mostly damaged superstructure. Didn't kill, but it was, you know, a foot or two from vital systems that would have taken the mech out.
Sure. So during this game, we alternate asking questions from the list, beginning a shared reverie between the 2 characters. The more frustrated character goes first. The player who's asked the question frames the new scene by describing the time and location, and then within the reverie, we describe details from the past, engage in conversation, and narrate events in the scene. If at any point during the reverie, one person hurts the other in a memorable way, the recipient takes a scar token. And after we both agree that the reverie is over, the recipient of the token, so whoever was hurt, describes a part of the mech that is broken.
Okay.
Sorry about that. Yeah, and when we agree the reverie is over, the next person asks a new question. Okay. So who do we think is the more frustrated character right now?
How frustrated is AJ?
I mean, I think the mech seems less damaged than I thought it would be. So not as frustrated as I expected, you know, but still obviously a lot of repairs to be done. But it's maybe right now most of the damage looks superficial. So I'm not sure AJ is that frustrated.
I was happy to be alive.
Yeah.
You know, she saw, you know, she saw the kill shot, and it you know, just, you know, a last moment reaction saved her from being obliterated.
I guess I'll count myself as frustrated. So, so
and you can feel free to decide that, you know, whatever much damage the
yeah, yeah. So I will. What will I ask?
Aurora probably flung the mech's arms over its vital systems, so probably one of the arm units got essentially blown off. So it essentially, you know, makeshift ablative armor is right. Get a limb blown off rather than get a critical strike.
So let's go with this question. Do you remember when you destroyed my last mech? And I think this is kind of amusing because of the phrasing, right? It's my last mech. You know, AJ obviously considers these mechs to be his and not the pilot's. So you get to frame the scene by describing the time and location. and then we just kind of play through the scene, narrate or engage in conversation or whatever.
Yes, I remember. The scene is the aftermath of a short brutal skirmish between two mechs. So it's just basically a duel. The mechs don't typically travel in groups except in the huge battles, and the dust is settled. Both mechs seem to have destroyed each other, and there is radio silence. No other hostiles are nearby except maybe for the buzz of reconnaissance units getting the hell out of there.
I think maybe this is one of those, sometimes whatever the result of these kind of duels, one side will kind of control the battlefield and the other will cut its losses and scarper. So maybe our side has kind of won this battle, or this is a skirmish on the edge of a battle that we did win. And so we see Aurora kind of, sitting on the wreckage of the mech, and we see AJ drive up in a loader meant to kind of recover the destroyed mech or what little.
Yeah. May I suggest that actually you don't see Aurora?
Okay, sure.
Right. There's the what appears to have happened is that the enemy mech fired a pair of missiles and got hit by then the friendly mech hit it with a particle cannon, which blew up its power plant. So it blew up in a shower of sparks, and then the missiles struck home, and the friendly mech collapsed.
Sure. So I think we kind of see the low loader or the repair unit or whatever park next to it, and AJ kind of gets out and he doesn't see Aurora, and he scrambles up to where the cockpit is, right, to see if maybe the intelligence they got wasn't great. Maybe he doesn't know that she is alive. So we see him check for, whether she bailed out or ejected or whatever it is.
No ejection. The ejection hatch is intact.
But she's not in the cockpit either.
Hard to tell from the outside.
So yeah, maybe AJ is like worried and kind of pops that hatch himself if he can, or maybe he has to take a wrench to it to pop it.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it takes a wrench and just to lever it open, and Aurora's in there and she says, "Took you long enough. My servo's jammed."
Your radio shot?
I can't pull out of the suit. Oh, are you kidding? The whole network center went down. If it's still there. I got hit by 2 Hellfire Mark IIIs.
Well, I guess I'll help you out, but
well, I'm glad to hear that.
I mean, sometimes I'm not sure if pilots are more valuable to the Federation than mechs, but in your case, maybe I'll make an exception.
You were the one who sent me out in this freaking turtle.
Um,
I told you maneuverability was more important than armor.
I think Hellfire missiles are going to find you no matter how maneuverable you are, right? They lock on pretty well.
Yeah, well, this thing has no chaffers, and they just those shape charges just blew through everything. And intelligence sucked. All right, they weren't supposed to have Hellfires. You know, they said that that's a Crusade. That was a Crusader Mark II, but they've tinkered with it.
Well, you can blame the Major for his shitty intelligence. How about I get you out of there?
That'd be great.
So, yeah, I mean, I think maybe it may be that that this kind of I think this is like one side, a wicked side to Aurora's mercurial nature, right? Is that sometimes she talks without maybe thinking, and if that sounds fair to you, that maybe her mercurial attitude sometimes catches AJ off guard, right?
Yes, it certainly does.
And he is maybe a little bit hurt by this, even though nothing she says is particularly wrong, but it's directed at him.
It's all justifiable. I mean, that doesn't mean she's right.
Okay. So, but I think that kind of hurts AJ in a memorable way. Maybe next time he pulls her out of a wreckage, he's not going to be so vulnerable. So I will take Scar. Yeah, so we don't have to finish the scene there. We can play it on. If so maybe it takes longer than it should, right? And so we kind of see Wrench leaning over Aurora, slowly taking out these bolts that hold the seat in.
Yeah, putting attaching hydraulics to the to the field to the various ports to jack her out of there, because the whole thing's kind of like a machine within a machine. And so she's they're kind of face to face for a little while, except that she can't move. It's very intimate, except that she can't move a finger.
Is this the kind of mech setup whereby your your limbs are controlling the movements actually?
It's a this one's a relatively humanoid one, except it's kind of hunched over posture. But essentially her but yeah, her arms and legs are in a tight cradle.
And I think AJ is like really specifically concentrating on doing that job, and he's not talking at all. He's not chatting. He's just doing it, and maybe
it's like, fine, you sure?
Not even making eye contact.
Oh, it's like, so Aurora, are you all right? Yes, I'm fine. Thank you for asking. That looked like given the amount of damage that went to the mech, I'm really glad that you didn't get hurt. Oh, I appreciate that. It's nice to know you care.
I think this makes AJ clam up even more, right?
Christ on a crutch. What do I have to do to get you to say something?
I think that's a good place to cut, I think.
Yep.
What do you think? Yeah, okay. So what do I have to do? I have one more thing to do. Yeah, I have to describe the part of the mech, so our current mech that is broken. So I think whatever kind of communications array or maybe like electronic warfare array that was on the mech has been kind of blown away. Maybe that exploding rock just kind of completely sheared it off, so that again you were radio silence when you were knocked down, and maybe we thought you were gone before we saw the mech come back into line of sight.
Yeah, all the life sign things went to nil.
Yeah.
It was because the comms had been severed, not because I was actually dead.
Yeah. Okay. You get to ask the next question.
Yes. Do you remember when Brian died?
So, yeah, I think we see. I think we see the first kind of social outing that we had when our two units were thrown together in the Federation. And we have like a, or whatever, just a kind of a getting to know you unit bonding exercise. And Brain is maybe someone who we both liked, and maybe even though we've had our first encounter, right? Someone we both looked up to and thought maybe they could, really bond the unit together. So yeah, I think we're out in the town, or maybe maybe it's in a tent alongside a base or something like that. Maybe it's quite rough and ready.
But it's a relaxed occasion.
Yeah, I think it's a relaxed occasion. So maybe there's an accident, or maybe there's an enemy attack, right? That catches us all off guard, and like a bombardment or something like that.
I think so. Which
catches us out of our mechs or out of our hardened bays. So yeah, I think, do you want to do a little bit of post or something, while we're drinking and having fun, or maybe a bit of both?
A bit of both.
Yeah. Yeah, so maybe we're like at one of these like rough and ready kind of tent awnings, and like basically a picnic table or a long mess table there, and we're kind of maybe playing some strange games that use knives or barrels or something you just have around base, with some alcohol lubricants.
Yeah, drinking game. Yeah, playing drift or something like that.
Yeah.
Right. Hook a finger into a two-handled beer stein, and you balance. You balance something on the lid of it, and what you're trying to do is pull it over to your side. But if it's filled to the brim, pull it over to your side. but if you cause it to spill, in the opinion of the onlookers, then you lose.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a tug of war, but you can't just yank.
So yeah, I think
Then
there's a lot of spilled alcohol, right, on the table, and maybe on some of us, and
we're kind of half in the bag because things have been quiet for a while.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Come on, you're stronger than I am. You afraid of losing?"
I'm not afraid of losing. Why would I be afraid of losing to a pilot, right? You're not used to doing anything outside of your mech, are you?
What do you spend? While you're in your hammock, snoozing it away, and I'm putting my ass out there.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, we have plenty of time to practice this kind of thing while you're out, being a hero.
Yeah, well, I want to get good and hammer it, and I haven't started. I'm only partway there. Come on, brain. Tell him to make him play me.
Yeah, and I think
he can't refuse you.
I think we see Brain put their arm around AJ and like drag him in and like put him right where he needs to be to start the game, and puts the beer krug.
That's it.
Up. Yeah, and I think everyone from both sides is kind of chanting names,
yeah, come on,
right, and egging him on, right?
Yes, and Aurora is doing her best to kind of get under his skin.
Yeah,
come on, sugar lips. And she's Aurora's cleans up really well. When she's not just coming in, she's pretty well put together and lovely, and she's flashing AJ a vicious smile. He's saying, "Come on, sweetheart, beat me and I'll give you a kiss."
I think like AJ's kind of last. I mean, it's not really a fervently held defense, right? It's just kind of my last attempt to save face is to say, curfew is coming up. We really should be getting, and then like,
oh fuck curfew.
Yeah, and then he like dives in to start. How much later do we think?
And I think that's when the air raid alarm goes off.
Okay. Yeah.
Warning, enemy. Warning. Enemy ordnance en route. Enemy ordnance on, and the speaker cuts out as a cluster bomb goes off above the encampment. So it scatters little grenades.
Yeah.
All over the place.
And
and a couple of them punch right through the tent roof, because they're red hot.
Yeah.
And one of them bounces on the table, and lies there for a horrible frozen moment.
I wonder if like, do you think AJ or Aurora is kind of seeing it land and the other one is kind of unaware? Maybe they're caught up in the moment and aren't reacting as quickly as
Aurora's pilots have to have fast reactions.
Yeah.
Or they die. Aurora sees it land. I mean, her head jerks to one side and she lets go of the beer stein and it splashes all over AJ, and maybe he stumbles backwards from her sudden go, and she has just enough time to say fuck no when Brian dives on it.
Okay. So do we think that Aurora was about to do the same, or about to push them out of the way, or something?
Yeah, she was. I mean, she was about to try something to swat at it or something like that. She took a step, and then Brain just flattens herself over the grenade, and it goes off.
Yeah. And I think, so there's like I don't know, maybe like a small pop, and kind of blood splatters in our faces.
Oh yeah, it's laughably small. It's just this little thump sound, that doesn't sound like anything at all. And her body just twitches as if she had her own little miniature earthquake.
And I think AJ maybe has stumbled and spilled beer all over himself, but he grabs Aurora and they run for the shelter.
Aurora is pulling unsuccessfully, trying to pull away, saying no, medic, we need a medic.
And I think AJ doesn't waste his breath trying to dissuade her. He just pulls until they're inside the shelter.
Well, yeah, he's a lot bigger than she is. I mean, she's got a wiry strength, but he can basically pick her up. And she's just shrieking. Tears are running down her face. That wasn't supposed. She was supposed to make it. That wasn't supposed to be her.
What?
All the battles I've been in, and a fucking cluster bomb gets her. It probably wasn't even aimed at us originally.
They've got ordnance to waste. Or that.
Those fuckers. This isn't a target.
Everything is a target to them. They don't care. They just want to win, no matter the cost.
I wanted someone to make it through this. She was a medic for God's sakes. She's never on the front lines. Never at risk. I expect to die. Sooner or later, right? The odds are going to catch up with me. God damn it. AJ.
You're going to go out there tomorrow and
I'm going to hurt them, but it's not going to bring Brain back.
No. That's all you can do, right? maybe you just want to give up. You got 25 combat missions. You can become an instructor. Just walk away, right?
That's true. Yeah, right. I can't. Too much payback left.
So, like tomorrow, who are
you were right to get
pilots going to see? I mean, if they see you like this, they're going to shit their pants.
So they won't. That's easy. They never see me. You're the only one who ever gets to see me. And Brian did a couple of times. She didn't hesitate a moment.
I mean, that's what she was like. You didn't see her when you were out there, only here. She never hesitated to put herself in danger to help people.
Should have been me.
Nope.
I wasn't close enough to it. Wasn't close enough.
I'm pretty sure Brain would have told you you're full of it.
Yeah, well, I am half broken. But I don't think you have anything in your toolkit that can actually fix me. Wish you did. Just bolt on some new superstructure, tear out a few malfunctioning weapon systems, you know, replace the particle cannon tube. Good as new. Right?
No, you're right. There's nothing I can do to fix you.
You could try.
I mean, you're not actually a machine.
Is that all you can do? Fix machines?
Yeah.
Aurora, AJ's not really hurting Aurora, but Aurora's busted up about this, and he's not helping. So I'll take a scar.
Not helping. Okay.
I mean, everything he's saying is true, but she's in her way was reaching out, and he didn't respond.
Okay. So, so we can either continue to ask questions, or now that we both have SCAR tokens, we can end the minigame. So I don't know if there's any particular questions in there you really want to answer.
Are there any that you would like?
I wonder about this one. Do you remember what you did to my home? was that truly necessary? It seems like it has a lot in it. So yeah, I guess you asked that question, so I will ask this one. You remember what you did to my home? Was that truly necessary?
By your home, I'll take it to be the little town that you grew up in.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, and I remember so the scene here is an after action report. Mech out on patrol to territory that was where it's thought that the enemy may have had penetration, and encountered some resistance in your town, which you can give a name if you want.
Let's call it Zabila, right? Because we're using the name in some of the other parts.
Giving the report of encountering enemy reconnaissance outpost in the Zabila sector, and part of that is replaying the video footage taken by the Mech of the encounter, which has little kind of readings, on the sides, that shows, status of Mech systems, and, it shows the radar image and things like that. The long and short of it is that basically the Aurora's Mech was fired upon, by a missile, which is taken out by close defense systems, and she responded with incendiaries.
So, while maybe that initial response is localized, those incendiaries basically cause the entire town to kind of burn out.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
There's pretty much nothing left. She hit it with basically a mech-sized flamethrower.
Yeah. I think the kind of debriefing, or is this a written after action report that maybe we see AJ flipping through in a file system or on a computer terminal?
I think you see, on a computer terminal. Yeah. Because it's got video.
Yeah.
So yeah, and it's quite recognizable. On the Mech, even on this sort of jittery, Mech video is always jittery because unless the Mech's holding absolutely stock still, because there's only so much compensation the cameras can do. But it's perfectly recognizable. There's it might be a church, a church steeple or something like that shows it, and little lights, showing enemy firing activity like that, and then there's some back and forth, and then they fire a missile. You hear the roar of the close defense systems going off, and then the mech deploys the flame cannon. It fires basically what it amounts to the rack of napalm bombs into the middle of it, and the place just goes up.
Do we think that this is like SOP? This is like a standard acceptable response if there's no civilians in the area? This is just like a...
There's no guarantee there were no civilians in the area.
Okay.
And is it a standard response? Mechs vary a lot. There's not, mech pilots have to make decisions a lot of times on what they've got, and but there is a doctrine of trying not to kill civilians, and response with proportionate force, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. So yeah, I think
so it's a little shocking.
Yeah. So I think we see AJ find Aurora in the mess.
Yeah.
Like soon after, and he gets her a beer.
Hey. What's going on? What's going on? I took minimal damage.
I
mean, I know you would like to chew me out whenever I bring a mech and bust it up, but this one's just got the paint scratched. What's the problem?
Oh, I only come to talk to you when there's a problem. Is that it?
I'm sorry. I spoke out of turn.
What's your home like, Aurora?
I haven't been home in 10 years. It's beautiful. I grew up in a house on a little lake with these beautiful vining plants that grew up the side of the house and over the railings on trellises. These purple flowers. And like every water bird you can imagine. It's about as pretty as this place is ugly, which is saying a lot. Don't get always. Me and my family don't get along, but it was nice growing up there. They didn't want me to be a mech pilot. They thought it was a terrible idea, and I guess they're far enough away from the war that they can afford to have thoughts like that. Yeah. My dad was unhappy when my scores came back. He was hoping I'd fail. But my cognitive neural index score was, as you know, was 493, and so there was no way they were going to let me do anything except go to mech pilot school. just quirky genetics. My neural systems works faster for the kind of implants they need here, but he wanted me to be a scientist, and my mother wanted me to be anything that would keep me out of the front lines. So we had a big argument. We had a big argument the last time I was there.
You gonna go back after the war?
It depends on whether I make it, doesn't it?
Well, let's be optimistic for a moment.
Let's not.
Really?
Hoping is the problem with hoping is that it opens you up to get hurt. Never mind. I'm fine. So why do you ask? You never been interested in my life before we met, really?
Is what we're supposed to do over a beer, right? Ask about what we're fighting for.
Is that what we're doing? She says, smiling. Doing what we're supposed to be doing. I kind of like doing what we're not supposed to be doing.
Oh. Well, then maybe. Yeah, I don't know.
Listen up. Gosh, it seems like sometimes I can't say the right thing.
Well, if we're not allowed to be optimistic, like you want to be buried back in your hometown when they kill you. I mean, scatter your ashes on the lake. What are we planning to do when your number comes up?
I won't have, when my number comes up, I won't have anything to scatter, probably. But yeah, if they could, sometimes they make little boats with candles in them to send out on the lake and remember the dead. You know, you push them out there just at dusk, and you watch the lights fade. Sometimes people write things on bits of paper and put them in there and remember memories. That'd be nice. Some people will remember me at least.
Yeah, maybe I'll retire there right after the war.
Sure. Maybe you should. It's called Estrella. Means star. It's pretty. Everybody's in everybody else's business though, so you've got to be prepared for that.
Mm. I'm sure I'll manage.
Or you can be like my Uncle Harold, who got a house up on the hill and never refuses to see anybody.
Sounds like my kind of guy.
I think you two might have something in common.
Yeah, well, where else have we got to go, huh? So I think AJ finishes his beer and kind of stands up, right?
Hey, wait, sit down. What's this about?
Nothing.
She looks up at him with an expression as if to say, bullshit.
What could I possibly say to you that would assail your complete confidence that you're perfect?
What the fuck gives you the idea that I think I'm perfect?
you give me that impression, or
No, I guess I must just be an asshole then, because I don't think I'm perfect, not even close. I'm really good at one thing, and other than that, I pretty much am fucked up. I think I'm one of the least perfect people I know. I can do a job and I don't. I refuse to quit. That's pretty much it. That's pretty much all I've got going for me. The longest relationship I've ever had with anybody lasted about 3 months. I don't get along with my family. I don't really have any friends. I got people who say they looked up to me, which is great, but they don't talk to me much. So, but I have to pretend. I know you know this. I gotta pretend to be hot shit. Because if I don't, everybody else is gonna give up. I have to go out there believing that we're going to win every fucking time. Yeah. Or at least acting like it enough that other people think it might be true. So yeah, I play an asshole on TV. But if you think I'm an asshole, then I must really be one.
Just wondering how bad that advice I gave you was. You know, maybe it was exactly the wrong thing to tell you back then. My brain died.
Where's your home? You never talk about home.
Well, it's gone. Obliterated in this war. So there's not much point talking about it now. It's done. Just seems like you've got somewhere to go back to. And
if we win.
And
if I live, if we win.
Yeah. All of those things.
It's two big ifs.
I'd kill to be in your position to have that choice. That's all I'm saying.
I have killed to be in that position. But that wasn't the reason I did it. I've killed a lot of people, and most of them, and a lot of them didn't deserve it. But they were close by people who were trying to kill me. And when you're in a situation like that, you have to act quick. I hope it was the right choice. And sometimes it wasn't.
Better be safe than sorry, right?
It's not even that safe and sorry sounds like something, a judgment, you know, something that you think about, you consider the options. It's like, okay, we could do this, that would be safe. It isn't like that. It's somebody lunges at you with a knife. What does your brain do? And sometimes you can take the knife away from them, and sometimes you have to shoot them in the face.
Guess it's a case of better them than us, is it?
If I go out there and get killed, I'm not doing us any good at all.
Exactly. Your job is to kill them and get home, right?
Yeah. So they drill it pretty hard into us. Don't get killed.
Just seems like a shame to say kill them, get home, and then say I don't want to go home. I don't know.
I'm sorry your home's gone. I hope your people got out.
Yeah.
So many refugees. We'll probably not know the answer to who got out where for quite a while after the shooting stops.
So I don't know.
That's a good spot.
Yeah, I think it's a good spot to break. I'm not sure if AJ is hurt. I mean, maybe inevitably, right? But he is not. Not that Roran knows about it, right?
Yeah, no.
And I guess not really that he can bring himself to blame her for it. At least, right? Not right.
It seems like he didn't.
Yeah. Okay. Do we think we want to
go on to part two?
Go up to part two. So,
sure.
We played a scene where each person voices their pain to the other in a moment of impulsiveness, frustration, and vulnerability, with the mech framed in the background. After the scene ends, we begin the next game. So, I guess all of these memories are kind of in our minds right now. Yeah, I think based on that, you know, AJ is looking at the mech, the bits of it that are broken, and then looking over at Aurora, and yeah, I think in like a moment of impulsive curiosity, or maybe kind of, I don't know, maybe masochism, or maybe vindictiveness. It would be better terms. He wonders to her. So, I mean, one way or the other, this war is ending tomorrow, right?
Looks like it.
You think you're gonna go home after that?
Well, if we lose, it's ending. Go home. Wow. I've not not let my brain go there for so long. I don't know. For to visit, maybe. You know.
Do you want me to come along?
Yeah. Actually, I'd like that.
Okay.
Introduce you to my folks if they're probably still alive.
Well,
You're not that old.
surprised.
Well, a lot of stuff changes. And but yeah, I guess I want to at least touch base. Find out what's happened to everyone. But I can't bet on it.
Yeah, well, I guess we should figure that one out when we get there.
AJ will have noticed that will have seen Aurora going over all the tattoos that she has on her left forearm. On the inside of her forearm, she has tattooed the first names of a number of people. And she's kind of running her finger across them.
So do we see Brain's first name there? Or?
Brain is there.
Okay.
I'm almost out of room, she says. You know, for people who died when I didn't.
Well, we're almost out of people.
These are just the ones that I knew well, who fought with me. Or still live to fill up an arm. And I thought I'm pretty much out of space, and I'm wondering if that means something.
I think you kind of notice AJ kind of looking at the names. And then after a moment of silence, kind of looking back at the mech. I think that's probably a good place to fade out. Okay. We take a break for 5 minutes, or do you want to take 10?
5 is good.
Okay. Okay, so welcome back. We're in part 2, making repairs. In the setup.
I chose to take a second scar from that conversation.
Oh, okay.
Because of the she took the comments about being an asshole to heart.
Okay, yeah, fair. We sit in silence for a moment and think about the following question, and then tell the other player the answers. What do you notice about the other person? What are they thinking about right now?
You want to go first?
So I think I can go first. Yeah. So, yeah, I think when AJ looks back at Aurora, he notices she has maybe rolled down the sleeve on her coveralls to hide those names, and I think she is thinking that there's no other names are going to be added to that arm. If she can ensure that no one else dies, then that is kind of her new mission. And if that results in her death, then so be it.
She notices is that HA is a little distracted, and he is thinking. He is trying to imagine what things would be like if Aurora wasn't in the world, and he can't. And he's coming up with a blank.
That like wasn't in the world at all, or wasn't in the world anymore?
wasn't in the world anymore. Yeah, if what would life be like if with Aurora gone, and he can't even picture it in his mind.
Okay, great. So in this minigame, the person who feels the heaviest weight from their guilt goes first. Begin with an apology. As before, players alternate asking questions from the list below, commencing a shared reverie between the two characters. The players ask the question frames the new scene by describing time and location, and so on as before. If a person mends their relationship with the other or atones for a past wound, as in a scar token, the other person removes the scar token. After both players agree that the reverie is over, the player who atoned shares an insight they gained for how to repair the mech. And then we continue until our scar tokens are all gone.
Okay. Aurora is definitely the most one with the most regrets, I think.
Guilt laden. Okay.
Oh yeah, she's just look at her, what her desire. I'm sorry for what happened in Zebulon. I didn't know.
I think AJ stops what he's doing and looks around at her. How could you know? How would it have made any difference?
I was piloting a T2. The only weapons they had was the light particle cannon and that flamethrower.
So I mean, you had to do what you had to do. That's why I didn't say anything.
I could have tried to run, I guess. I didn't have anything to shoot back with except for that thing. And I just thought, oh my God, an outpost there, they're going to call down a satellite strike.
Yeah.
They almost hit me with a, with a missile. But I knew it was the satellite communications headquarters from the radio traffic that they were throwing off. And
I meant what I said back then. Like, you did what you had to do. I mean, I knew what you were piloting. That's why I didn't say it. What would be the point in me putting that on you? Maybe I should have.
I played that over in my head a whole bunch of times. Trying to think what else I could have done. Anyway.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything for me to forgive, It's a shitty war, and we didn't start it.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not the ones who set up a command post or a recon post in a church.
Yeah. I wish that made me feel better.
No, I mean,
I never liked the loadout on that Mech.
Yeah,
I'm glad they obsoleted it. And traded it down to border patrol. This one's better. The Legionnaire is the best Mech I've ever piloted.
I'm holding out for the Centurion.
The Centurion's got the most guns, but I like the Legionnaire better. Do you remember when we first built it?
Yeah, it's strange, right? That I remember having such second thoughts about the actuators in the legs. Like it was, I don't know. It seemed like it was going to be too slow or like not nimble enough or whatever, but it seemed to work out right.
Well, it's got a high balance point, that's for sure. But if you're a good enough pilot, that doesn't matter so much. I'm glad I was able to persuade you to leave the superstructure intact, because I've needed because of those auxiliary heat sinks in the back have been key. I mean, otherwise after the first 60 seconds of fighting, I'd have to Basic pause. Well, I'd have to shut down one or the other of the two particle cannons. And
you should see the heat signature from the back. Like from the rear lines, it looks like there's a sun on the battlefield when you're going full throttle.
Yeah, well, it's not a great mech for if you're surrounded. But it's got legs. You know, that same. You know, that high center. You know, the long legs and high center of gravity means it moves.
It does move.
And that saved my ass more than once.
I mean, it's gotten me into trouble more times too, right?
Yeah, but you know, especially in one-on-one fights, other mech pilots mostly hate anything that can really travel because it throws off all of the direct fire weapons. You know, and nobody packs more than a couple of missiles, except for the real heavies. And you don't tangle with a heavy in a medium. But the heavies, like the Centurion, they're just too slow, and their heat buildup is just too big. They're not versatile, and you know, anything can get killed by a satellite strike. You know, if you hold still long enough, and the enemy has. You know, has good top-down visibility on you. So no, I like the Legionnaire. It feels. I know you hate it when I say this, but it feels right. It doesn't feel like I'm moving through mud, pushing it around. It just feels like I run and it runs. I point my finger and it fires.
Yeah.
I don't have to think about it.
Done some improvements to that cockpit too. You know, you're not likely to get stuck in there in extremis.
God, that was boring. At first I was like, oh my God, I'm alive. And then it was like, oh my God, I'm fucked.
I mean,
and then it was just like, well, okay, I guess I'm waiting here until someone pops the thing off here, or I die of starvation.
Well, you're just glad it was me and not the other guys, right?
Yeah. Yeah. No, we wouldn't have gotten that one back. It was still drivable, kind of, much with a lot of fixing.
A lot of fixing.
Yeah, but no, having those hydraulics that freeze in place when the main pump got killed was not my favorite design at the time. I can tell you that.
No, I mean, it seems like the kind of thing that that someone should have foreseen, right? I mean, no one likes to foresee losing a fight, but
well, I guess I know what I mean. I guess what the designers were thinking was the hydraulics, right? The main hydraulic pump is right next to the cockpit. So if something takes out the hydraulic pump, it probably takes the pilot out too. And so, not a big idea. It's just that the hydraulic pump caught a shard that just didn't quite have enough energy to penetrate the cockpit armor. So I guess it was just really lucky
Yeah, yeah. I guess that would have been. You know,
But anyway, this is
putting
better.
you know putting your trust in some mechanical device made by someone you don't know, or even someone you do know, can't be always that comforting.
Rather be in a mech than be a tanker. Tanker, you can't see shit. You have to completely rely on electronic systems. I mean, not that the mech doesn't, but you've got so much more command of the battlefield. I mean, you don't have to worry about anything except ground-based missiles and other mechs, pretty much. Unless you're stupid enough to go into a minefield. Yeah, I like this one. I remember the first time we tried out the arm actuators, and I bet you that I could pick up a watermelon without crushing it.
I mean, that seemed like reaching for the stars, but you know, we did our best. You know.
Well, you know, if you know how to, you just have to know how to move your fingers just so, you know. But those little hair sensors, I love them. You have to be careful not to fidget though.
Yeah, so I think I might remove a SCAR token from AJ. You know,
Yeah.
I think going back to that scene in when Aurora was stuck in the cockpit and the kind of realizes that maybe what he felt was that lashing out was just the awkwardness of her placement in there and all that fear of being in a battle and being at the mercy of whoever shows up.
Yes.
Yeah, so I think I will ask this question. Do you remember how we escaped Commander Fryland?
Should I assume Fryland's an enemy?
Yeah, I think that's fair. Unless it's like a really bad posting, right?
Yeah, I think I'm going to turn it on its head a little bit and say Commander Fryland's actually a friendly that we almost got transferred to.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's it's hard to forget lying in a hospital bed, pretending I had the beginnings of neurodegeneration, and hoping, that Dr. Fukuoka was going to stay bribed.
I think we have like a scene of maybe Brain and AJ visiting Aurora, right? And maybe there's like a surreptitious bribery of some hard liquor to this doctor to write up the
And a
chart.
little fat wad of credit.
Yeah.
A doctor here. I think you dropped this. Oh yeah, and Aurora picks up a cup and her hand trembles and she spills half of it on herself. And she puts it down. She says, "Can I get a straw?"
And I think AJ kind of sits on the side of the bed and like holds the cup with the straw in it up to her lips.
And she takes a drink. She says, I don't know how much longer I can stand to do this.
I mean,
have they filled posting it?
Well, I think it's really your psychological profile that Freiland wants, But
well, it's either that or my ass, right?
I mean, I wouldn't like to comment, but
I mean, not like it's like what he's trying to. I mean, his command is such. I just like that 2 weeks under his command, I shoot myself in the head. I mean, I've met him. He is the worst. I have no idea how he got his fucking job. His family must own, a tenth of the planet or something like that. I'm just not, it's hard enough seeing other, hearing stories about other people who died due to his incompetence. I'm not going to put myself out there, even if it means committing essentially fucking treason.
Yeah, well,
nobody wants his post, and I'll be goddamned if he's going to get me and you, because you'd have to come with me.
Obviously, who else would be able to keep your mechs in the field?
You've built it. But he's a. I'd say he's a joke, but it's not funny.
I mean,
I don't know why the top brass hasn't just these guys must have too much pull to get sidelines or shoved off into Sector Zeta or something.
Yeah.
Where there's no fighting going on. I mean, they have cut down on the amount of damage he's done by taking him off of the front line stuff. But I'd be doing rear guard action. I'd be sitting in my ass doing mech patrols for nothing while other people are dying on the front lines. I just can't do that.
I mean,
I
told Brian before we came here that if you did get assigned, he wouldn't survive a week. You just I don't know, kick him off a cliff or shoot him in the head or something like that, or step on him in a training accident.
Yeah, I mean it's desert. Try to join up with some other unit and hope intersector communications went down. It's ridiculous.
But anyway, I mean you're too good for his command. Every way you look at it.
I have to sit here and piss myself in bed. And
here, keep drinking. We'll make that happen.
you know, as long as, you know, they don't hit, as long as they don't send another doc to check up on me. Because there is fucking nothing wrong with my nerves. I mean, except that I have this incredible itch to punch someone.
Listen, I'm not doing anything for the next 2 hours, so you know, just you know, my left side, please.
No, I'd have to miss, right? Because
your standards are high. Your standards are high.
I'm not supposed to have enough coordination to really punch anybody, right?
I mean, you need to walk.
Look at my record. My you know, I'm having neuro damage, and they're giving me bed rest in the hopes that I'll recover.
Yeah,
I'll recover so fast.
I think you've got to walk the line between, you know, not suitable for combat and not suitable for combat right now. So, you know, don't want to be too out of it. Anyway, Brain will patch me up.
It's like, okay. Just remember, I probably don't mean anything I'm about to say.
Oh yeah, you're on drugs, right?
Get your fucking hand off my butt. And she backhands you.
Okay.
And then halfway falls out of bed.
Yeah.
Grabs onto the rail with her free hand.
So,
could you press the call button for me? I think I'm stuck.
Yeah, I think he does, but it's kind of suppressing a laugh, right, which would completely ruin the effect of this kind of fake fight.
Do you remember when you first called me a friend?
Do we think this is like way back after that first time they were thrown together? He picks up her mech when there's kind of an emergency repair site set up in the middle of the fight, and then maybe does she come back after the fight? Or maybe does he go visit her?
I think this is significantly into their relationship.
Okay, yeah.
So I think she threw out the hook a couple times and he didn't bite.
Yeah.
And so he blindsides her at one point. So they're like, okay. And it's like, yeah, okay, I noticed that left hand number 3 is a little sluggish. There's probably some residue in the line. And I'm telling you something shifts every time I rotate the left hip out. There's kind of a clunk. So not exactly a noise. There's a vibrate. So something's vibrating, and it doesn't feel right. Like the joint is sticking for a moment. And the satellite antenna is acting up again. signals kicking in and out at weird times. It tests fine, but then I get out there and the signal kicks out and then comes back on again for no reason. Other than that, it seems to be in decent working order. I'm not counting the hole, the hole that got punched in the left leg. You can see that for yourself.
Yeah, so I think AJ is like walking her through like a diagnostic, like giving her a set of commands just to align the actuators between input and output.
Yep.
And
yep. See, number 3, she's being very professional.
Yeah. I think maybe, after the first, half a dozen routines or phrases that they go through, she realizes that, he is effectively getting her to dance the hokey cokey, right, with the mech.
Yeah, she turns and puts the mech's hands on its hips and goes, "The fuck."
I mean,
you've got
manual.
Yeah.
So this is in the manual. When it says it here, I'm reading it verbatim. When the pilot notices that they're dancing the hokey cokey, then everything is okay.
Excuse me a moment. I have to unplug, come down there and kill you.
Okay.
And
I'll get a beer.
She unplugs, pops the cockpit hatch, shrugs out of the pilot frame, and begins to climb down the access ladder.
So yeah, AJ has like 2 bottles of beer.
She naps one away from him.
Hey, how's it going?
You get to do that once.
Yeah.
After that, we're gonna have them may accidentally discharge a particle cannon into one of your reactor bays.
The paperwork for that is hell, my friend.
Yeah, but it's more on you than me. You're the one who has to. You're the one who'd have to ask for a replacement. Hey, what the fuck?
The hokey cokey. It's a a strange dance. I'm sure you've seen it.
What the fuck did you just say?
The hokey cokey is a strange dance.
No,
I don't know what they
before that.
Before that, the paperwork. Oh,
no.
You're too cool to be friends with a mere mechanic. I get it.
She has finished her beer and she chucks the beer bottle at your head. Not with enough wind up so you see it coming.
Okay.
And it flies past and crashes against some durable piece of machinery behind you.
Okay, I guess.
Fuck you.
Fuck me? What do you mean, fuck me?
I can't believe you.
You can't believe me.
No. Are you kidding me? Or are you just holding out all this time?
I'm not kidding you. I'm being completely serious. I have eventually warmed to you.
Oh, have you not? I'm glad that your stony heart has found some particle of affection for little old me. in there that my excessive character has not completely obliterated any regard that you might have in my
Not
direction.
completely.
She is grinning as she says this.
I mean, do I need to give you some warning next time I use the F word?
Yeah, if I'm drinking beer, I almost choked. Friends with a mechanic, as if. I mean, why would we be friends? We've only been fighting this war together for how long?
Yeah.
Better part of 2 years, right? That's hardly enough time to become friends.
Hardly.
It's just kind of bare acquaintances, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm pretty sure the first friend I ever made, I made after 2 minutes. But I was 4, I guess. So these...
yeah, and she wasn't a pilot.
Yeah, she was quite. I mean, she was quite nice, you know.
No, well, I'm not nice.
Oh, I mean the hard pretense asshole exterior takes a bit to chip through, but yeah.
Yeah, well, you weren't exactly using the sharpest chisel for a long time there.
Well, I didn't score 493 on my aptitude test, so, you know.
Oh, fucking la-di-da. Yeah, well, you know, I didn't redesign the Mark II reactor to up the efficiency from 65% to 87 fucking percent, and get a Fordham prize for it, which he says, gesturing at this teeny little plaque that's up on the wall.
Yeah, well, you know, at least someone noticed that, right?
It's hard not to notice it. You only mentioned it, what, 3 times? 4? 6?
Well, that's because some of the other pilots in the squadron, you know, didn't know what the new refresh rate on their PPCs was. So, you know, we have to keep reminding them. They're not all as bright as you.
Now I know you're making it up. You don't really think I'm bright.
I don't think you're bright. I mean,
I'm still having trouble believing that you even like me.
Listen, if you had been put in Friedland's command, I would have gone with you. I could have gotten out of it. We all could have gotten out of it.
Probably.
But I would have
glad you didn't have to decide.
Sure, but
I just figured I was fishing in dead waters.
Well,
you know,
patience is the angler's weapon of resort, first resort and last resort.
You're not the easiest to get to like either, you know.
Well, sure. You know, I've got this whole burly, brooding exterior.
Yeah.
But
yeah, fuck you painted on your forehead.
But on the other hand, I don't think I could quite pull off the manic pixie mechanic shtick that some people have going.
I hate those guys. Ugh. You mean like Isabel?
Yeah.
Oh God, she's driving me crazy. I'd probably beat her with a wrench just to get her to stop talking.
Yeah.
It was like, oops, accidentally beamed her with a wrench. Clumsy me. Well, I can kind of stand YouTube, so there.
Well, that is exceptionally gracious of you.
You're a big fat jerk sometimes, but I've gotten used to you, and I don't want anybody else touching my goddamn Mech.
My goddamn Mech. I'm not going to let anyone else pilot my goddamn Mech.
Do you remember when we caught McPherson screwing with the master control systems?
Oh, he thought the commander would appreciate it for some reason, being able to.
Well, he was told to do. Well, he had been told to do a refit on all the mechs, and it's not my fault that he fell off the gantry.
I mean,
officially,
I wouldn't like to, lie in the court of law about that, but sure, it wasn't your fault. I mean
he shouldn't have been leaning over it in that precarious fashion.
Yeah,
so,
and when
that it was his fault.
And when that gantry just got pushed out of the way by an unexpected torso twist, I mean, who could have foreseen that?
Nobody, really.
Nobody.
I mean,
especially not the pilot.
Well, the arms on the Warhammer model, tend to swing wide a little bit when you twist the torso. They're as a counterbalance. Everybody knows that.
Everyone knows that. I mean, not McPherson, obviously.
Obviously.
I mean, he's a great assistant quartermaster now. So.
Good.
Counting beans and bullets is apparently important.
Everybody else has got them, and I think the message was delivered.
Loud and clear.
Yeah. But just to make sure, I did make sure to put up that sign.
After.
Yes. Hands off. This means you. Big piece of tape across the gantry stairs. It's like.
And of course, who would have believed McPherson afterwards? I mean, he was concussed, so.
Yeah, no, he was.
He couldn't be expected to remember having seen or not that.
Well, especially since he didn't see it coming.
Yeah.
And it wasn't so far to fall that he was likely to get killed or anything.
Okay. Well, I think based on that, we're probably clearing the scar from that.
Yeah, me too. No, we're out of scars.
So do you want to narrate a montage sequence where we repair the mech? I think we're given the kind of the flashbacks we've had. I think we're maybe tightening or renormalizing the balance on all these actuators, right, to make this mech run kind of crisp and clean.
Yes.
So maybe going through a quick achievement test, right? Not quite hokey cokey level, but something. We're going through a different checklist, maybe.
And then balance on one leg and balance on the other.
Yeah.
Kind of thing, right? The little.
Yeah.
The servos going, click, 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 click as the balance point shifts. New hand and forearm assembly getting put into place on one side to replace the one that got melted.
Ripped off, yeah.
And then the fingers moving, rotation.
Yeah.
Okay. And then this stand by for weapons actuation. And those little downfield target.
Yeah.
Fire the particle cannon. And people put on their earmuffs, and the thing just roars, and the target vanishes in a puff of dust.
Yeah.
It's pulling a little up and to the right.
Yeah, and I think we kind of see the targeting reticule, whatever signal is being sent from the kind of the weapon to the shoulder and into the cockpit, just getting slowly tightened on so that the targeting reticules match up, and then we see another test fire, and it's bullseye.
That's it. Feels good. Say it's rotates the arm, moves around. Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah. I think maybe in the one of the previous flashbacks, right, we saw a bottle of beer crash against a crate of stuff, and we see the same kind of crate being opened up, and it's like sheets of a blade of armor that are going to be hoisted like armor onto the kind of damaged side of the mech.
Yeah, we're gonna have to. Yeah, no, I agree. It has to be a patch. There's not enough time to to rebuild those plates. But half a dozen layers ought to soak, and I'll try to protect that side.
Yeah, so I think we see him being like bolted on with this giant bolt gun.
Yeah,
just like into the slots in the armor.
Yeah, right. This thing, this enormous plunger, it slams into the mech, and the mech vibrates a little bit. Yeah. As the giant, as these 3-foot long bolts are slammed home.
Yeah, and I think we kind of see this really strange kind of mishmash, right? Like the normal side of the mech is this kind of sleek, pristine, really, kind of angular armor, and then on the other side there's this kind of lamellar layers that are just drawn up. In this kind of really makeshift way. Yeah,
the bolt carrier to me, it's like a sideways pile driver. I mean, it's just you see this thing extend out, and then it's got like the electromagnetic slam. Is the okay. God, that looks like hell. But it should hold up, right?
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to win any beauty contests, but
no. I'll favor that side a little bit. Try not to expose the the hole. But give me How many missiles do we have left for me?
Got pretty much a full load.
I want Mark IIIs. We got, this is, if we don't, if we don't use them now, we may as well go home.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Give me 4 at least, and 2 Mark IIs. So the Mark IIs have a longer flight time, and I can probably use that. They don't punch as hard, but I can. They have better range, and that might be important.
So yeah, so like, what do we think these are? Like shoulder-mounted rocket pods or launchers? Or okay.
Yeah, they're 3. There's 3 missile tubes on a side.
Yeah.
They're both like epaulets.
Yeah, awesome.
The two medium particle cannons on the 2 arms, and then a whole bunch of little close up weaponry.
Yeah, so the point defense and
yeah, exploding point defense things, right? Just strips of stuff, of one use stuff on. That's just basically they're basically little shaped charges with proximity sensors on them.
Yeah.
So they go off in a they're just it's effectively gives it reactive armor to try and keep a missile from actually hitting. No use against particle cannons, but
those ship charges will get.
To make sure blow up ship charge, and yeah, considering any goddamn thing can fire a missile if it gets close enough.
Yeah.
And I want the auxiliary launchers filled with chaff.
Yeah.
I got a funny feeling that I'll need that more than I'll need the extra weaponry. I realize these are one shots, but if they try to flood the area with missiles like they did, well, or kamikazes. I don't think they have enough kamikazes left. But they got plenty of missiles.
Yeah.
And I need stuff, and I can't, even the close defense systems can't take out that many of them. Because once a strip is gone, it's gone.
Yeah.
Not like
better to have it not need it than other way around, right?
Yeah, well, like I said, I just have a feeling. That this is it. This is the loadout I'll need.
Okay.
They've been moving up batteries all night into range. I don't know if they're going to start with a flurry of missiles or if they're going to let them fly once the battle starts, but at some point, I'm going to have a lot of incoming. And their mechs, I think they've got about a 2-to-1 advantage, but some of theirs are terrapins. I'm not quite as worried about those. But even so, can't turn my back on them.
Yeah, well.
And if I can engage them one at a time, I can take a lot of them down.
I mean,
If they
slow,
get,
right?
if they, yeah, but they have those Hellbore launchers. Those, you know, that giant shoulder-mounted thing. That stuff that cannon will tear a hole in anything, and it's got a longer range than my particle cannons do. So I got to kind of play around them. They're going to use all their light things to try to herd me into the kill zones of those big guys. And it's going to be hard to stay out. I mean, at this point, there's no surprises anymore on either side.
I think we've got that playbook down.
Yeah. Yeah. But the satellite, I mean, she gestures to the satellite, to satellite pictures, and it's like, look at this fucking battle. Look at what they've pulled up. Shit. I'm not taking any bets. Okay.
Yep. So let's move on to testing the waters, the third minigame. Setup. Both players describe one detail about the cockpit. Mechanic describe one of the mech systems that is finally functioning. Pilot describe one feature that the mech can do now that it was not able to do before. So yeah, I think in the cockpit there is, you know, that the frame that the pilot sits into is kind of newer, right, and lighter, and has maybe a hydraulics release manual flip switch right beside your hand, so that, you know, even if worst comes to worst, you can, you know, manually disengage it and get out. And I think it's something that has been fitted just on this one. It's not like a factory install or anything like that. It's a bit of a jury rig.
And we stripped some of the back armor plating, and as a result of that, the mech can crouch. And there is some cover on the battlefield. Mm-hmm. That being able to hunker down makes a difference. It also, I mean, because, you know, the critical systems are in the torso mostly. So if you get that closer to the ground, it also decreases the line of sight, you know, of the mech. Mechs stand pretty tall normally.
Yeah.
And all the satellites are going to go down before the battle starts, because satellites are easy to knock down.
Yeah, that's just the way you start.
It's where you start, right? Is you wipe out all the other personal satellites. So all the satellites are going to go down before the battle starts. So line of sight, it'll become line of sight rules, and and so being able to get down and lower the profile may actually conceal where the mech is briefly.
Yeah, and maybe just the way the kind of mech is constructed, right? When you're crouching down, the head is kind of leaning forward, but we've done some kind of change to the shielding. So like there's a visor that usually kind of protects you, but we kind of raised that up to give you a better line of sight when you are crouching.
Yeah.
Conducting the game, the boulder person, the boulder character, asks the first question from the list below, and then the players alternate turns asking from the questions list until each person has asked 2 questions. Yeah, so there's how many are there? 6. Yeah, there's 6. So you get, I mean, I have a feeling that Aurora is bolder, more eager to get out there. Is that right, or how do you feel?
Yeah. She's antsy, in fact, to get out there and have done with this. The lights inside shut off for a moment. When they come back and illuminate my face, what emotion do you feel first?
I think first I feel sad, right? This is almost over. This is the last time this is going to happen. And I think, I mean, it gets kind of overwhelmed then by kind of the rationale on that is that that's a good thing, right? This is the last time it's going to happen. But I think that first emotion is regret. Like, we're going to miss this.
Yeah.
I think the second question, both of us reach for the same switch simultaneously. Does your hand recoil immediately or linger for a moment?
My hand actually curls around 2 of your fingers. And I give you a little squeeze. And then I gently take it back. I look right in your face. I don't say anything. I fumble awkwardly trying to use a control panel. How do you help? Fucking catch. How does this work?
Yeah, I think I reach down and maybe it's like it's a bunch of flip switches, but or maybe toggle buttons, right? And you've always complained about the labeling on them, that it's like not that useful. And I just put the flat of my hand against the labels, and so I have a line that you can just know which buttons to press. I know exactly the order. I know exactly which buttons you have to press, and I know why this is difficult for you. I just do exactly what you need at this moment.
Yeah, there's one button I press, which is in a cluster of them that's kind of down at a funny, awkward spot, you know, where I can't actually see it. I have to do by feel. And you guide, you put your hand around as a guide. And I kind of just tap you on the knuckle with a fingertip. After hitting the button.
Yeah, I think in this moment, our gazes linger on each other. What emotions do I glean from your face?
I don't want to go. Not because I'm afraid. Because I'm afraid I'm not going to see you again.
And I think as I'm getting ready to kind of close the cockpit, I say, remember, you're gonna give me a tour of your hometown after this is all finished, right?
Of course.
We're gonna raid your uncle's liquor cabinet.
There's a local liqueur that you have to try. Probably hate it, but it's distinct. Made from a flower that grows wild there. It's kind of, it's bitter and sweet at the same time. They're very proud of it.
Well, I guess we'll have to put a dent in the supply.
Sure. Yeah.
So we've each asked 2 questions. We go to the concluding questions. So it says decide between the 2 of you who leaves the scene first. They answer the first concluding question. The other player then answers the second question. The first question is, as you leave the cockpit, what regret comes to your mind? This seems like it should be me.
Should be you, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because you do the last external checks.
Yeah.
And then you step back and you nod, and I hit the cockpit close thing, and everything folds up, so and you see my face in the communication device, and I say communications 5x5, all systems functional, ready for a pre-flight check.
So, yeah, my question is, as you leave the cockpit, what regret comes to your mind? Whew.
So there's a pause. There's a pause there, just as you're stepping out. Yeah, because when you say, okay, you're ready to go, and I pause.
Yeah, the regret, I think, that comes to my mind is that I don't think we have dared to have any kind of meaningful or experience since Brain died, right? We have been completely focused on the war. and there's always a chance for or nor, and maybe that kind of friendship came too late. So yeah, then I think, you know, do the final checks and turn my back to get off the gantry. And you have that second question.
It says, when you see the other's back turned to leave, what words reach your lips that you should have said earlier? Do you say them? The words that reach my lips are if I don't come back, just know that I love you and I always have. And what comes out is, if I don't come back, giant pause. Remember me. Okay.
Yeah, and I think you see
She closes.
AJ kind of give a strange nod, like he knew you were going to say something else. And then you get the thumbs up and the gantry pulls away and your path is clear with the mech.
Aurora closes her eyes. And squeezes them shut for a moment and blinks, swallows, and she goes, ready for a pre-flight. Beginning a pre-flight check. And her voice trembles a little bit, and then it settles down. And she runs through the
Yeah, I think like on the ground now we see like AJ give a final visual check on things and give the all clear and kind of step back out of the danger zone.
And she finishes the pre-flight. She starts the mech up. And it takes a step and a step, and it pauses at the opening of the tunnel. And the head rotates back. And we see inside Roran, looking at the picture on her screen. She flicks the audio off And she says, "I love you, Master." And then she flicks the audio back on and she goes, "All right, everybody, let's go get him."
I think that's a good place to cut. Okay. Yeah, I guess we will stop the recording and have a quick debrief.